Hey, brand storytellers, welcome to Brand Storytelling Theater. And today we're going to have a panel on the short documentary film High Road. I'm going to have some questions for the folks who are with me today and really understand kind of how this short documentary film came into being. I'm Adam Palmer. I'm the brand director with GoDaddy Storytelling called Always On team. And with me today, I'm going to kick it over to Lindsay. Can you do a quick intro for yourself?
Sure. Thank you, Adam. I'm Lindsay Hagan. I'm the director and executive producer, and I work at a production company called Gnarly Bay.
Awesome. Tasha, fantastic to meet you. Looking forward to hopefully meeting you in person in Park City in January. Short intro for yourself.
Nice to meet you as well, Adam. I am Tasha Tinajero. I am the marketing partnerships and ambassador leader for a nonprofit called Outride, who is Meg is one of our ambassadors.
Fantastic. Awesome. Thank you. And Meg?
Hey, it's a privilege to be here. I'm Dr. Meg Fisher. I live in Missoula, Montana. I ride for Cannondale. I'm an 11-time world champion and pioneering paracycling in the off-road space.
Fantastic. So a quick log line, if you will, on High Road. High Road celebrates the unbreakable bond between para-Olympian Meg Fisher and Jack Barry, a young para-athlete whose cycling career is just beginning in this film, High Road. And really, we get to see it kind of start to unfold thanks to Meg and the storytellers. Together, the two will navigate life's obstacles with grace and integrity, creating space for what's next in the next generation of paracyclists and para-athletes. It's a story of resilience, persistence, and strength. Meg, I'm really looking forward to hearing more about your journey up into this, up until the beginning of this film. If you wouldn't mind giving us a little background on your athletic career and experience.
Oh, thanks. So I've been a lifelong athlete, and which actually led me into collegiate. I was a Division I tennis player. That was 20 years ago. Cannot believe it. And so 20 years ago, I had two legs, but I was in a car accident. My partner, my first love, and we were in a rollover car accident where the car rolled 8.5 times. I had a traumatic brain injury, spent some time in a coma, had some brain surgery. I also had my left leg ripped off. The most monumental thing in that accident is that my partner died. I woke up from my coma to learn all of the loss. There was so much loss. Yes, physically, emotionally, but then also people telling me what I couldn't do or what I shouldn't expect to be able to do. They didn't think I would be intellectually capable. They didn't think I'd be physically capable. People just kept telling me over and over again what to keep my expectations low. And fast forward 20 years, I now have a doctorate in physical therapy. I have 11 world championships. I've been to the Paralympics twice with Team USA, where I have a gold, 2 silvers, and a bronze. And I've continued to set firsts. I was the first para-athlete to ever race Xterra triathlon, which is off-road triathlon, mountain biking, open water swimming, and trail running. I've gone on to be the first para-athlete to finish Unbound, which is a 200-mile long gravel race. And I've done that 3 times and still the first now no longer the first para-athlete. I was able to create paracycling categories and bring people to that, which leads me to, yes, I've done a lot of firsts as a para-athlete, but now as I am 20 years deep into this, I see that my role is now to bring people to sport. And I've really been pushing for people to recognize para-athletes as athletes and giving them the opportunity, almost like another age group. And I've specifically focused on cycling because I feel like bikes are more or less an adaptable wheelchair that carry anybody, 2 legs, 2 arms, a fully functioning nervous system, faster, further, and over terrain that normally our bodies couldn't do alone, no matter our capacity. And all of our bikes are adapted to us. Like, I'm not going to ride Tasha's bike. I'm not going to ride Lindsay's bike. She's not going to ride mine. I'm not going to ride your bike. So our bikes are all adapted to us, whether they have 3 wheels, 2 wheels and 2 riders like a tandem, or recumbent, kneeling, tricycles, other three-wheeled bikes. I've been able to mesh my expertise in physical therapy and rehabilitation medicine, as well as my extensive history on the bike itself, to push for this in the global space.
I love the takeaway, especially on accessibility for others, as well as being what is noticeable in your story as a result, not just for you, but making that that accessibility and that opportunity for sport and for athletics to be a part of others' lives. I know we're going to go deeper into this, and I feel like we could have an interview segment completely made with you driving. I do want to get into some of the story behind the making of this story. Lindsay, if you wouldn't mind, tell us how this idea, this concept came into development and how this film eventually became made.
So it really was Meg's brainchild. And I think it all began between a conversation that Meg had had with Colin Keaveney, who was the road marketing director at the time, with Cannondale. So Colin and I had worked together on a commercial campaign earlier in the year. Meg actually happened to be the talent of that campaign, but we really didn't scratch the surface as far as her story goes. But Meg and I hit it off. It was a great, quick interaction. We only shot for one day. And as I stayed in touch with Colin, he's like, Meg has a much deeper story. And she mentioned to me that there's this boy she's been working with named Jack. And I think there's something there. So Colin was listening to his brand ambassador. And that was really what was most important, was this act of listening for the brand and ambassador partnership. And that's how Tasha came into this. Meg, as we were talking about, okay, we have to hit a certain budget. We need to get a crew there for 4 days to shoot. Cannondale came in for a certain percentage, but it was really important that we had a nonprofit partner who was going to help project the impact that we wanted and bring it forward and into the world as a tangible film that can actually help people and change lives. So that's where Meg actually recommended Outride as that nonprofit partner. So between Cannondale and the partnership with Outride, we were able to meet our budget goals and get out in the field and film with Meg and Jack for 4 days in Missoula.
That's incredible. Tasha, actually, if you could tell us a little bit about, there's a confluence of partners here, and that can make for great marriages of points of view and perspective. It can also be a challenge from time to time when you bring multiple parties. You have a brand ambassador, you have a not-for-profit, you have a for-profit business, you have a production company. Tell us a little bit about the collaborative effort amongst those key stakeholders in this storytelling.
I think you bring up one of the most important parts of this film and this project is that while you have Cannondale and Outride technically is originally the Specialized Foundation, right? I work out of the Specialized office. There are certain stories that go beyond brand. There are certain missions that go beyond brand. It's not about whose logo is across someone's chest. It's about the overall feeling that it provides to folks. And you've heard Meg speak a little bit, but let me tell you, I moderated the premiere panel and I have never cried during a panel. And that was the first one where I did. Simply put, this is a story that goes beyond brand. It goes into what our community is. And Outride specifically, our whole slogan is together we can outride anything. That doesn't matter what bike it's on. It can be a Specialized, it can be a Cannondale. That's not what's important to us. What's important to us is empowering our community and showing the benefits of the bike for mental health. And the story between Meg and Jack shows that goes across lifespan, that no matter what adversity you face with a spirit like Meg's and the power of the cycling community behind you, you can do anything. So really, there wasn't, in my opinion, any conflict or any really challenges between all of us, because overall we saw this amazing story that Meg had to tell with Jack. And what are you going to do other than support that,
That's fantastic. And really, I think with the audience that we have here around brand storytelling, the fact that it is really transcendent and about the mission, about the vision that you're looking to encapsulate, it is really incredible that you have so many watershed of partnerships, but an alignment between those partners and a handshake deal to make something truly incredible. So kudos and congratulations again. Meg, maybe you can field this one for us, but I'm kind of curious how Jack's story came into the narrative fold.
Oh, Jack. if you've gotten to watch the film, everybody goes, where's Jack? And you can't help but fall in love with him. And I can tell you in person, he's tenfold better. He's more than that. He's magnetic and dynamic and special and kind and gives you hope for the future. I've known Jack forever. Oddly enough, I've played more tennis with Jack than anything else, really, even more than biking. I knew his mom, who also played on the same college team as I did. So I knew his mom, I knew his dad from the mountain biking community. We all knew each other. It's a relatively small community here. And when Jack developed cancer a few years ago, everybody knew. Very quickly, signs came up around our town that says Jack's Army. And people were always like, I've been asked, what does Jack's Army mean? Because we're in the mountains of Montana, I actually had a dog walker ask me, he's like, is there a militia going on? No, it's the community support behind this young athlete who is kicking cancer's butt. Because they're everywhere. So I got to be Jack's mentor before I even got to be his physical therapist. So when he came back from Boston, this is well-known knowledge, I'm not breaching HIPAA. I was his physical therapist. They sought me out. And so I was able to work with him to regain strength and some of the other functional abilities he needed to do just to do daily life. Very quickly, because Jack is so strong and resilient, determined, he wanted to do more things. So we got on the tennis court. He wanted to make the varsity tennis team. He did that. We worked together on the courts. And then he knew me as a cyclist as well, and he wanted to ride bikes. In this video, you can see small clips of Jack like kind of airing it out on his gravel bike, and he can air it out a lot more. And kind of like his dad said, like before he even came home from the hospital after cancer treatment, he had a cast on his arm because he tried to hug himself on his bike. So he's fearless. He's amazing. I see him up at the ski hill. We've gone cross-country skiing. There's snow outside in Missoula. So we've been cross-country skiing. We bike. We have plans. We're going to be riding rollers this evening. He's everywhere. He's everywhere. And we also go play video games and at the arcade games. And I have to say one of my best friends is a 15-year-old.
That is incredible. That is incredible. I wonder too, Meg, if you can touch on this. I mean, we talked a little bit about the physical and the mental aspect, and the kind of understanding where those issues are both prevalent. I'm curious if it seems to you like you taking Jack under your wing and a mentorship was part of both of those aspects as well. Yeah. I think that comes through in the film quite a bit. Jack is certainly a trailblazer in his own right, but do you feel like there's a certain amount of cheerleading from the stands that you're doing to help him realize some of those things? Definitely.
I think when I came into sport after my injury, I wanted to get back on the tennis court, and I just want to be like the people around me. I want to be like my mentors. At the time, triathlon was really big in Montana. Some of the top Ironman triathletes ended up coming from my class in college, whether if you know Lindsay Corbin or Ben Hoffman, if you're in the triathlon world, I went to college with them. And so I just wanted to do what my friends were doing. So that's why I ended up doing a triathlon 11 months after I lost my leg. And, people told me I'd never walk again. Well, I'll show you. And that's kind of how Jack has been too. He's, I think it's a lot harder to give up than people think. And I think having a community that we have, and I'm sure is replicated all over this country and this world, that they lift you up. I've never been given the opportunity to quit. And whether that's from my parents or from the bike shop that sold me my first bike, to the ski community who says like, yeah, you can do it. Or, there were some things that I legitimately can't do. Like I never made it back to the tennis court as far as in a competitive sense. That's okay. So as far as like cheerleading Jack, like 20 years ago, nobody looked like me. And right now in our community, nobody looks like Jack. I'm the closest thing that looks like Jack. I'm older. So he can see himself reflected in me in any aspect is a privilege. And it's not something that I went and looked for. I don't think any of us went and looked for where we are. I think we all have nieces and nephews and friends that admire us. And we kind of go like, yeah, I didn't go out looking for that. And it's something that I hold very precious and dear, because I don't want to mess it up. He's, oh, darn you hit me in the feels. Jack is special. And cancer touches all of our lives, right? Like, I think nobody can say that it hasn't. And 15% of the world's population lives with a permanent physical impairment from a World Health Organization study. So we all know people who use wheelchairs or use canes or crutches or prostheses, seeing eye dogs, wheelchairs. I mean, you can name it, but we often don't see them in sport. And in the North American culture, sport is elevated to a higher platform or pedestal for whatever reason. So let's use it. And if I can help Jack, what a privilege. And having the success I've had and the platform that I have now, if I can at least blaze the trail, I know he'll make it better, and somebody else will make it better, and more people will follow on the trail and pack it in and make it better. So if I'm the first person for right now, cool. If I have a target on my back, excellent. I want Jack to beat me. When we bike race, I do not go easy on him. I push him into the fence. I say, pass me. If you're going to pass me, pass me. And we push each other.
That's amazing. So, Lindsay, I'm going to toss it back to you. Obviously, in hearing directly from Meg and having screened and seen High Road a couple of times, you have incredible storylining, right? You have such rich individuals with histories that they bring to the table. They're breaking barriers. They're seeking out these challenges and overcoming personally and physically. Tell me a little bit, though, watching this film, it's clear that the production side of it, you've captured those stories incredibly well. And it is an emotive film, right? It touches you. Tell me a little bit about how you were able to do that from a production standpoint.
Well, thank you for the kind words. I will say, being able to do that from a production standpoint really came down to the partners that enabled us to do so. Along the way, I was able to share story outlines, interview questions, director's treatments with our brand partners, and they were so supportive. The entire process, I knew that we had the right partners in place, because there was never pushback that made me feel uncomfortable, or like maybe we were breaching comfort level of our subjects. So that's how I knew that I had the right partners for the job, because if that's not the case, that's when you have to have those hard conversations about boundaries. So that was first and foremost the key to the success of this film. Beyond that, I come from, before I was ever involved in film, I worked in adaptive sports, specifically the climbing industry, ski industry, and wheelchair basketball. And that was my first love. And being able to translate that through film, that empathy and that understanding that I really wanted to translate onto the viewer, that was like the ultimate dream project for me. And having met Meg and seeing what a leadership role she's taken, I mean, my whole MO in film is turning the lens on people who you want to see more of in the world. So taking those narratives that you think we could use more of in society and reflecting that outwards, and creating a ripple effect. So, I mean, it was really the perfect alignment in all regards. And I will say something that I do feel helped make this process very successful was the collaboration between Meg and then Jack's parents as well. So they were giving me feedback on interview questions, making sure that I was hitting the mark on the story that they were most proud of and was going to do them, justice, because really this is a story that they're going to live with for the rest of their life. For me, yes, it's something I care deeply about, but this is my job. So this needs to be in service of them and their community. And I'm so fortunate that Meg and Jack's parents were willing to be collaborative throughout the process, because every film you make in the documentary space, it's an never ending learning process. You're never going to be the master of any subject you take on. So having that feedback was so helpful.
Well, and I think that's a perfect foray into a good lead into the next question, which is, what are the updates here on Jack? Is Jack, are we going to need to expand his medal case at this point?
Yes. It's been a privilege. Like, I want to first touch on like what Outride did and how they stepped in and the place that they hold in the cycling community and beyond. with student athletes. And maybe whether people identify as an athlete or not, I'd say we're all the athlete of life, truly. We're all having to fight gravity day in and day out. And then as far as Lindsay, I knew Lindsay's work prior to this with her work with the Range of Motion Project. And I think she's incredibly talented. And yeah, I can't say thank you enough for the gift that you all gave me and Jack's family, as well as his community, because it really has given him a larger platform to add to his trophy case, which leads into what you're saying. Like, what are we going to see from Jack? Jack now has his driver's license. So we will see him more out and about in the world. He is headed next week to Canmore, Canada. He has a para Nordic skiing development camp to go to. So he is, if you follow him on social media, he'll give you trail reports on our local ski conditions now. There is fat biking, so I'm gonna try he's as tall as me. So since this film started, he's now as tall as me, if not taller. So we'll share bikes. I have 2 fat bikes. I have no doubt that we'll be fat biking this winter, cross-country skiing. I'm going to try and take him to all the races that he wants to. We've created a really nice slide deck and portfolio for him to approach brands, because he wants to continue to help share those stories, because I think he has a meaningful story, which goes back to saying that we all have scars, some of which are invisible, and people like Jack and I carry our scars much more visibly. And so in the whatever media, visual media you choose, like, we represent a large population. So he has the skills. Like, he handled Tasha's questions on the panel eloquently, efficiently, beautifully. He hits you in the feels. He stepped away from the varsity tennis team because he wants to focus more on cycling and skiing. So we'll see more of Jack. The para cycling team wants to wait till he's about 16, so that's pretty darn soon, where they'll invite him to camps. He'll have a heavy gravel and mountain bike schedule as his family travels allows this summer.
That's incredible. So tell us a little bit, Tasha, this might be you. I'm going to volley it over to you. Tell us about the launch of this. And obviously there have been some laurels and accolades, some and more coming. Tell us about how this was launched and Outride's contribution to getting this incredible film out into the world.
Absolutely. So I'll touch on our end of it and then volley it over to Lindsay to talk more about the accolades in, but I can tell you what made an Outride a unique partner for this is, I flew up to Missoula after getting like 2 hours of sleep in the last 4 days because I was shooting something over in Moab. I was wondering how I was going to get through this premiere. I was wrecked, for lack of a nicer way to put it. And I walked into this coffee shop and there's Meg Fisher. We had never met before. And it was like seeing one of my best friends after 10 years. Meg just has this incredible energy and spirit to her that will make anyone feel like they've slept 8 hours for their entire life. She's just incredible. And in that moment, I kind of knew we didn't have to, I would love to tell you there's some epic package that went together to launching this, but frankly, the story is so good that what we did is we went to Missoula, we went to Jack and Meg's community, and we had our premiere. Lindsay was there, I was there at the local bike shop, and the whole theater was filled. I mean, we had people sitting on the floor, standing up, multiple people, multiple chairs. It was incredible to see the community turn out. So we initially launched it there within their community to get, the support of the people that were a part of this, from Jack's family to, Meg's mom was there. It was amazing. And then when we stepped away from that, we decided, okay, it's time to let this out into the world. Launched through Cannondale's YouTube, put it out into social media further, got an immense feedback. I can't share the metrics, but I can tell you on my end, it was astronomical. As Meg said, Jack's very dynamic as well, and they're very easy people to have represent anyone. But what makes Outride's impact on this really unique is Jack's obviously a school-age young person. And when I came across this project, I was like, wait a minute, I know exactly how we fit in here. Because Outride is in over 240 schools, we have touched the lives of over 50,000 school children. All of our Riding for Focus kids will have the opportunity to see this. So that does not speak to the short film accolades. I will let Lindsay do that, but I can tell you that that is going to have a huge impact on the lives of these young people. Because like Meg said, Meg is, and I can speak to this, I'm also in the, fancy cycling realm myself. There is no one that looked like Meg out there publicly. And there certainly wasn't anyone like Jack for a long time. Meg is not just breaking down barriers? She certainly is, but she's fully making the trails. You know, she's doing the whole dig out. It's not just moving trees out of the way. She has had to really go forward and make this happen. Now that Jack is following these young people through Outride, we'll be able to see his story and hopefully be able to relate, no matter what their scars look like. And now I'm going to volley it over to Lindsay for the accolades side.
That was wonderful. I'll make it short and sweet. And I will say, from a filmmaking perspective, having an impact partner like Outride attached is just the absolute dream scenario. It's one thing to make these films, and it's one thing to launch with your brand partner, but to go beyond that and put this film in the hands of the people who could really use it the most as a tool, and sharing it with grassroots organizations that's like the cherry on top. That's what every filmmaker aims for, in my opinion. Or at least I do. But aside from that, we had our in-person screening. That was an amazing turnout. We filled that theater 3 times in a row. We had to do 3 separate screenings, which was incredible. From there, the film has played at Banff. It was just playing at Banff. It'll continue on their world tour. It played at Fresh Coast up in Marquette, Michigan. It recently played in Laguna, California, at Coast Film Festival. It was just picked up by My Hero Film Festival this past week. I'm probably forgetting, but there's tons of festivals who've picked this film up. Meg, you're muted. Chime in if you.
No, I'm not. Technology is my forte. I'm so sorry, but I wanted to brag for Lindsay because she's able to get this film recognized by international film festivals. So not only will it be with Banff International, but it was in the Bicycle Film Festival in New York, and now it's going to Amsterdam, and I'll have the privilege to go with it and speak on a panel. So I can't say thank you enough for, continuing to help blaze that trail. So please keep going, Lindsay, because you were on a roll. I just wanted to
No, I needed help. My recall is horrible. Thank you. And beyond that, that was part of the partnership that we came on behalf of Gnarly Bay, was to help with promotions and PR. So brand storytelling, submitting the film for the upcoming event that this is a part of. So that was a huge part of our partnership, is figuring out where this film can live beyond, Cannondale's page and Outride's page. And of course, Meg pushing this out on her channels, like she has an army of supporters. So I think we all hit the ground running and looked at a multi-dimensional outreach launch beyond just putting this on YouTube. Also, it went up on Vimeo. It received a Vimeo staff pick. So it's actually living in 2 places right now. But in my opinion, the more eyeballs and the more general public we can reach, the better.
How incredible that story is. I want to reiterate for the audience, in terms of going into a purpose-driven story, to get that purpose through making the film, encapsulating that message within the film itself and through the storytellers, both behind the lens and in front of the camera, is incredible. But the fact that you have that built-in audience that is going to receive that purpose-driven messaging, have the inspiration coming out of this, and as you're talking about, Tasha, through Outride, that the purpose of that film is going to have even more potential to inspire and to help people lead by the wonderful example that Meg and Jack have shown us through the film is really great. So congrats on that. You have the full complement of great partnership and great purpose and great distribution built into that. So let the laurels continue to hit this film. Fantastically done. So I'm going to toss it on last question back out to you, Tasha, on the continuity of storytelling as part of your brand. Where do you see that coming after this film?
That is a great question. So little fact about me is, while my title has marketing in it, I come from more of a documentarian and journalism background. I work in the outdoor industry. I have been a brand development person for bike shops and things within the cycling world, which basically just means they come to me, say, hey, we're not making a profit. What do we do? Gone are the days of what I call fireworks marketing. It doesn't work anymore. People are tired of it. You can show the sickest jumps. That's great on a really nice bike. That's fantastic. You can show that you've shaved 2 grams by making a $500 more per part thing. That's great. People are not into that anymore. Social media has disillusioned people with really heavy-handed marketing, especially in the outdoor industry. What people do want is a story. We just went through a global pandemic. that rocked everyone's lives, no matter where in the world you were. Everyone is trying to find humanity and humility again. To me, storytelling, working with people like Gnarly Bay and Lindsay, working with people like Meg, that is the future of, be it a nonprofit, be it a for-profit side for a company, anything. If you want people to want to ride a Cannondale, if you want people to want to come donate money to Outride, if you want people to come and buy whatever, I don't know, knit hat that you're selling, you need to be telling a story behind it. No one's going to buy anymore just hard facts about why your product is the best. When you show a story, you show that there's humility to a brand, that is what's going to push a brand forward, no matter if it's a for-profit or nonprofit. So in my opinion, how's that going to drive us at Outride? Personally, the way I see it and the way I have it laid out is all of our marketing brain and resources go along with that are going to be behind telling the stories of people within the ambassador program, within our Outride Fund program, within Writing for Focus. If you tell the stories, the people will come. So does that answer your question? Okay.
Yes. Yeah. It sounds like more. And then again, on the purpose front, like, what is the value proposition for your audiences, for your brands generally, for your customers? It's that deeper connection that that storytelling allows for and celebrates. So speaking of celebration, I hope everybody gets the opportunity to screen this film as a next step. I want to thank you all for your time and congratulate you one more round on a brilliant film. Well done, well executed. So thank you all for your time.